was buried.
Far above the Arctic Circle, the Kola Peninsula is a wasteland of ice and jagged rock. Winter storms here drop temperatures well below freezing, burying the landscape under punishing drifts of snow. If you walk far enough into this white expanse, you will find a concrete floor scattered with industrial debris. Bolted firmly into the center of that concrete is a heavy, rusted metal circle, no wider than a standard manhole cover. Beneath that iron seal is a 12-kilometer wound in the earth. It drops perfectly straight down into complete darkness, and somebody went through a massive amount of trouble to weld it permanently shut. Humanity has mapped the craters of the moon. We send probes into the freezing vacuum of deep space. Yet we know less about the environment 15 kilometers directly beneath our own feet than we do about the outer solar system. In the middle of the Cold War, the United States directed its massive industrial machine upward, trying to put a man on the moon. The Soviet Union looked the exact opposite way. They wanted to drill straight down. The Soviets built a massive, centralized rig in the middle of a frozen nowhere. They engineered experimental drilling platforms, heavy-duty centrifuges, and vast banks of early computers, all designed to push steel deeper into the ground than anyone had ever attempted. This diagram shows their true target. They intended to punch entirely through the Earth's continental crust. Their goal was the Mohorovičić discontinuity, the exact geological boundary where the solid outer layer of the planet meets the highly pressurized mantle. The project required a colossal budget and a small army of structural engineers. It was a fiercely arrogant attempt to physically conquer and map the deep architecture of the planet. Driving a drill bit through solid rock is difficult. Spinning a metal drill string that is several miles long is a mechanical nightmare. The extreme torque caused the steel pipes to twist and warp violently under their own weight as they ground deeper into the bedrock. The drill eventually pushed past the 6-kilometer mark. Here, the extracted cores returned something completely unexpected: perfectly preserved microscopic plankton fossils. Biological life was sitting in a zone completely devoid of sunlight. These microorganisms were buried under rock layers generating pressures so immense they would easily crush a modern military submarine. The steel kept grinding downward, crossing the 7-kilometer line. Geologists predicted the drill bit would hit a solid, impenetrable layer of dense basalt rock. Instead, the bit chewed into heavily fractured granite, and that deep granite was completely saturated with boiling liquid. In this photograph, a researcher examines one of the extracted core samples. Prior to pulling these exact rocks out of the Kola borehole, every geological model agreed liquid water was a physical impossibility at this extreme depth. The further down the steel pipes traveled, the more the established textbooks fell apart. The Earth was actively defying our best scientific theories. After 2 decades of continuous drilling, the team reached 12,262 meters. This would be the absolute limit. This graph tracks the subterranean temperatures. Models predicted a steady, manageable warming curve, but at 12 kilometers, the temperature violently spiked to 180 degrees Celsius, roughly 356 degrees Fahrenheit. The heat was only half the problem. As the graph expands to show pressure metrics, we see the effects of lithostatic stress. At this depth, the sheer weight of millions of tons of rock pressing down from above distorts the basic rules of physics. The intense combination of heat and crushing pressure caused the rock to lose its rigidity. It began behaving like plastic. Every time the engineers pulled a drill bit up, the surrounding rock melted and warped shut behind it, snapping the replacement bits in half. The drilling didn't stop because of funding cuts or political collapse. It stopped because the deep crust became an active, impassable defense system that physically rejected human machinery. Today, the facility is a rotting shell. The towering derricks and laboratories are completely gone, leaving behind nothing but brick ruins and rusted steel. When a massive, secretive project shuts down abruptly, people ask questions, and in the vacuum of a clear answer, a very specific internet myth began to spread. The story claimed the drills broke into a hollow cavern. Supposedly, the scientists lowered a heat-shielded microphone into the dark, and recorded the agonizing screams of millions of damned souls. The audio that circulates online is a heavily edited loop of old movie sound effects. The real noises from the borehole were actually much stranger. Tectonic plates grinding under massive strain, trapped gases hissing through fractured granite, and solid rock shattering under pressure. Reality at 12 kilometers deep is a dark, crushing environment, utterly hostile to biological life. We tell ghost stories about hell and demons because a supernatural villain is easier to process than a completely indifferent, lethal planet. There is nothing supernatural at the bottom of the Kola borehole. There are only extreme, alien physics that organic bodies were never meant to survive. This decades-long operation stands as a massive monument to human curiosity. We pushed our steel and our math to the absolute breaking point until the physical limits of the planet forced us to stop. Which brings us back to the surface. Back to the freezing wind, the ruined concrete floor, and that rusted iron cap. Those heavy welds aren't designed to keep a monster trapped inside the earth. They are a permanent reminder of our own limitations. We live on a thin, fragile crust, entirely separated from the massive, churning mystery directly beneath our feet.